You're listening to the Major Pod Network, the only place where your favorite toy store, card shop, arcade, theme park, and arena are all on the same block. Scratch that major itch.
Today on the Game Marks podcast, we play Fire Pro Wrestling D thanks to Mega Mark Brett Vaan. Will this game hold up today? Are we going to play it forever? Woo! Or future endeavor?
You're fired!
All this plus gaming news, Clash with the Feast, and an update on Gameboree 2021. Plug in, put on those nostalgia goggles because this week's Game Marks podcast starts now.
And now, the Game Marks. Welcome to the Game Marks podcast presented by the Major Pod Network. For the first time ever, I'm recording here in my new home. I'm the man they call Johnny Clash.
And I am Mr. Anything is Feasible, George Feis, and today we are playing Fire Pro Wrestling D, courtesy of Mega Mark Brett Vaan.
And as always, we love to hear from you guys, so please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and make sure to subscribe and rate this podcast wherever you choose to listen, and join the conversation on social media at GameMarksPod and on Patreon at patreon.com/GameMarksPod. What's up, Georgie boy? I'm sorry about the echo. There's literally nothing but my desk right now in this room, and I have like pillows encasing me to try to get rid of the echo, but I don't know if it's working too well.
You know what? I'm just happy that Chateau de Clash is finally up and running, and you know, it's going to be the new home of the Game Marks podcast. It's going to be our main headquarters. It's going to be where the business, all the business happens from that office, right? I'm like move my equipment in, and
honestly,
it's going to be our main hub from now on.
Honestly, one of my goals is to like just have a nice little podcast setup. So if you come over, if we do it remotely, whatever, either way, it's just going to be perfect. It's going to be not my crammed little apartment, which is all I could ask for. But with that, enough of that. We'll follow up from last week's Showdown Legends of Wrestling. Also, I'm sorry if you hear like hammering behind me or anything, because there's stuff going on while I speak. Showdown Legends of Wrestling.
I got to cut you off really quick because I feel like we can't talk about last week's episode without talking about what happened last week. Thanksgiving night. FWF Live 2. The man that was our guest last week for Showdown Legends of Wrestling, Max Smashmaster, is your first ever FWF Live Hardcore Champion. You and I made a little appearance.
We made an appearance, and you know what? We could have been the first ever FW Live Interstate Champion, but once again, David C. Anderson kind of screwing the pooch here. This time he didn't just screw you, he screwed me. Because
and I even tried to help.
You did. You know what? You put in your effort, and I appreciate it. But we could have had that little midget swoggle, but instead we got Heath, and he walked away with that title. I had Aaron Rourke right where I want him. I hit him with the Clash and Burn. And yeah, we all know what happens next. The rest is history, but we're looking forward now. We're looking at FWF 3, because who knows what's going to happen that day. But if David C. Anderson, if you get in my way again, I don't know what I was going to say after that, but I'll do something to you.
I was going to say, let's not burn too many bridges. He is still the commissioner.
Yeah, I mean, you never see commissioners get involved in wrestling, right?
Oh, no, that never happens, ever. But let's talk about last week's episode now with Max Smashmaster. Showdown Legends of Wrestling. How you feeling about it? You still feel good? You had a good time? I was on the fence. I ended up going with the Play It Forever. You were Play It Forever right out of the gate.
Yeah, I still feel good about it. Sometimes I'm like, oh, should I have done that? Shouldn't I have? But no, I actually did feel like, oh, you know what? I kind of want to go back and play that game more, which is, at the end of the day, that's what we want to feel for a Play It Forever. What I thought was interesting was once I put that on like social media and all that, we had some people actually agree with us. Most people did actually enjoy this game, but someone made a really interesting comment, and it was that Legends of Wrestling 2, in their opinion, is up there with No Mercy and Here Comes the Pain and the classics. And
I'll tell you what, that's not the markout moment of the week.
No, but listen, everyone's opinion is their opinion, and you can't take that away from them. But boy, do I not feel that.
Yeah, I mean, well, it goes back to what we said, in like the first couple of months when we started the podcast 3 years ago. Jesus Christ, that sounds good, Lord.
Sick of you.
But like, it's all about your experience as a game. Like, so your childhood experiences with that game, if you played it with like a sibling or a cousin or a best friend, like, and that was like the game that you guys had, that changes your opinion on what otherwise may be widely considered a horrible game to be something that's super fun. I mean, I have a perfect example. When I was a kid, you're familiar with the Dave Mirra BMX game?
Love those games.
Those games were great. Me and my friend never played the game as it was intended. We would always just do bails. So we would go into the pool, and you would fly out of the pool, and then you would do like a no hands, and you would lose the bike. But because the collision and like the physics of the game were like, they're not what they are now. Collision and all that stuff was so broken that you would like end up launching yourselves into the air. You would clip through the floor, and like we made an entire game of just that. And we actually never ended up playing. I mean, I went back and played it later on, but like, for the first like 6 months that game was out, we never actually played the BMX game. We just did crashes and bails.
Hey, that's the way you got to do it. You got to make it your own. If the game ain't perfect, find something about it. We all have those games. So that one was yours. Legends was this listener. So to each their own. With that, let's talk about the schedule this week, because Monday ad-free show is coming to you on Patreon. That's today if you're listening when this drops. Tomorrow, you're getting the show notes on Patreon, which are beautifully done notes that we use to drive every episode. This hammering is making me mad. Tuesday night, GMP Game Over on Patreon at 7 p.m., where we play Showdown 64. We have been having a lot of fun with that one, way less glitchy than AKI Evolution. Wednesday, Future Endeavored on Patreon this week, George. No, last week, George, you played WWF Betrayal. And this week, I will be playing, oh boy, we played this one, I think, with Philip Cardigan. WWF WrestleMania for the DOS.
Oh, good Lord.
How was
John?
How was Betrayal? Did it jog any memories?
Refresh my memory. What level did you stop playing on?
The Titan Towers, the last stage, I believe.
Do you remember what part? Because I
literally
also
the beginning.
Stopped at Oh, okay. I got to the elevator and I stopped. I couldn't. I was getting too frustrated in the elevator.
What about the train with those guys coming at you? How annoying was that? They were
the guy at the suit with the briefcase gun. Maybe one of the most annoying.
And you can't jump or anything.
Ever. It's insane, and he shoots forever.
Oh, Wednesday night main event with George Feis on Twitch. That's Wednesday night. You usually start around 8 o'clock, right?
Yep, usually around 8 o'clock, go till like 11:30, 12. Been pushing that a little later because all of the money that we raise on Twitch during Gameboree goes right to that cause. So very happy to go a little later.
All right, and that's on twitch.tv/GameMarksPod. Now, Thursday, we've been dropping the Day of Reckoning playthroughs. We dropped episode 6 last week. This week, I'm hopefully going to have 7 ready for you guys because, like I've said, I've been moving and it's been a struggle, but I think I'm going to be able to get it done for you. And we're going to go up to 10, I believe. I think there's 10 episodes that are going to happen with Day of Reckoning. It's either 9 or 10. It depends how long the chapters are. But it's been a lot of fun reliving that game, and I hope you are reliving it with me. But let's talk about the Streamer Spotlight. I'm just going to go right into it, George, because you throw it to me anyway for this one. But the last Streamer Spotlight for the month of November, youtube.com/createaprowrestling, where you could go watch matches. You could watch promos. You could watch full shows. You could see MJF's first match. You could see Bear Bronson's first match. It was the same match. You could see some of my old matches, Smart Mark, Chris Statlander, everybody, Max Caster. Go check it out. youtube.com/createaprowrestling.
Now, while we're also talking about YouTube, you should go and check out our YouTube, youtube.com/GameMarksPod. We recently hopped over that threshold. I mean, I say hopped. We really kind of like crashed through that wall.
We clashed and burned.
We're like 100 over what we needed to get to the Legion of Doom episode, which will be coming out. John, do you want to say, we'll just say it's after the holidays?
We just keep pushing it back, but I think that's a safe bet at this point.
When we said that we were going to do it?
Early December, yeah, but I think after the holidays is probably going to be the best bet because we still have to put it together. These take a lot. We enjoy them. We enjoy them very much, and I actually enjoy putting them together as well. They're just very time consuming, but it's coming.
Yeah. And originally, obviously John just moved. Things have been shifting around a lot of that. Things were supposed to happen a little earlier. So when we originally announced the date that we were going to do it, John had his whole schedule lined up. Obviously, things changed. So, yeah, we'll just say that sometime in December, probably after the holidays, we will have that. Obviously, we'll keep giving you guys updates. But, yeah, it's going to be a doozy, that's for sure.
It'll be worth the wait.
Like we've said countless times, we've already got the next video game retrospect lined up. I'm ready for that one.
All right, but with that, we also have our very own merch. Check out GameMarksPod.com/shop for gamer grips, guitar picks, t-shirts, prints, and various other Game Marks podcast stuff. But George, Gameboree 2021 is off to a hot start. And I say start because this has only been a month now about, and we have already surpassed last year's goal by a lot. We are halfway to our main goal. Over on the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast Facebook page the other day, Aaron Ortiz and his flea market actually raised even more money for St. Jude. That was awesome. Thank you for doing that. But let's talk about where we are at now. We are at $1,160. What an amazing, I don't know, I could say amazing job, I guess we're all doing, but it leaves us speechless to know that people that listen to our show are helping out such a good cause.
Yeah, and a huge thank you to everyone who's donated, and a huge shout out to our sponsors for this year's Gameboree, Secret Levels Podcast, Run-In Podcast, Best Batch Promotions, and the Markout digital card game. I mean,
go follow all of them right now.
You want to talk about a community of people who love video games and wrestling and anywhere that those overlap, coming together to do something great. We are happy to be the vessel to be able to put this together. John, it's great that we're raising money, but let's hear about that grand prize, the gold prize. What do we got? Because when you donate, you also are entering to win these prizes. So the highest donor gets a set, and then the second highest donor gets a separate set of prizes. So, I mean, John, what do we got?
All right, so the highest donor, we've been saying this every week, but it's just too good not to. You get the grand prize, which is a Major Brothers, Matt and Brian, signed commemorative WWE Raw Tag Team title belt, a limited edition signed print bundle courtesy of Best Batch, and oh my God, the names on this thing, Danhausen, Brian, Fandango. It's not limited to any of these, and you could be getting more than we even say. So I'm not even going to name them all because he's putting together this package and it's going to be awesome. You get
there's a lot.
Yeah, and then both donors, the grand and the gold, you guys get the Markout digital card game Steam code, an exclusive t-shirt, some gamer grips, some signed Game Marks podcast prints. But the gold prize, you will also get a Cassius Ohno, that's Chris Hero, signed WWE Elite 71 figure. So head on over and donate today. You could snipe someone at the very end.
All right, John. Well, that's all the updates from last week, and I think it's about time for us to hop into some holiday gaming news. What do you say?
I'm in.
Are you looking to get a better grip on life? How about your video games? Well, VGF Gamers are the largest silicone gaming brand in the USA. They have a variety of different and unique skins for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One controllers and consoles. Check out their products at VGFgamers.com and use code GameMarks to receive 15% off your order at checkout. That's GAMEMARKS at checkout. VGF Gamers. Better grip, better style.
Marvel's Avengers is finally set to add Spider-Man to the video game as DLC for PS4 and PS5 players on November 30th. And ahead of that, Developer Crystal Dynamics and Square Enix has been announcing and revealing what sorts of things that players can expect from the update. He must partner with the Avengers to stop this looming threat and forms a tentative relationship with Miss Marvel and Black Widow while keeping his identity hidden. As a hero accustomed to working solo, he struggles with the new dynamics of working with the team. Will he join up full-time with the Avengers or stay independent in his fight against AIM? Now, if new rumors are to be believed, World of Warcraft could finally be coming to consoles for the very first time. The rumor was first posted to the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit before making the rounds to Rezzard Era. The original Reddit post has since been deleted, but apparently a World of Warcraft Complete Edition was listed in the source code for Xbox's upcoming game section. The supposed release date listed is December 9th, which is the same day that the Game Awards is set to take place. This could imply that it will be announced at the Game Awards and released the same evening. And that's all the gaming news we have this week. Check back next week. Gotta say,
You're gonna play World of Warcraft on consoles?
No, I was just about to say, not a World of Warcraft guy. Never was.
Yeah, me either.
It kind of, I think Smart Mark is. It kind of intrigued me for a little bit.
Who is a big WoW guy? Smart Mark Sterling.
It intrigued me. But at the same time, it just seems like such a big world that I just don't want to get involved in. But
I have started and stopped so many times with that game. It's pretty much so for those of you who haven't played, if you are at all interested, you can go play a trial on your computer, battle.net. And Blizzard offer, I think it's your first 15 or first 30 levels for free. So if you're interested in playing it, but for some reason, I just couldn't. I can't get into it long term.
No, I dabbled in Fable and I thought that was close, and that's as far as I'll get coming close to anything like this.
Yeah.
But all right, that's the gaming news. We have no updates on 2K22 right now because they said January will be the next round of updates. I think they kind of overloaded us to begin with all the cool stuff last week, but we'll keep an eye out.
Yeah, I'm ready. All right, so that's all the gaming news. You ready for the mark out moment of the week?
Let's spin the wheel.
What's up, Game Marks? Are you trying to look your best while repping your favorite video game podcast duo? We know just the place. Head over to ProWrestlingTees.com/GameMarksPod to pick up your favorite GMP designs, including our various logo tees, Future Endeavor, the classic NES Pro Wrestling style tee, and of course, Mark the F out. Order today and receive a phone call from us. You never know who will pop in. That's ProWrestlingTees.com/GameMarksPod. Play it forever.
All right, so like we mentioned over the last couple of weeks, the mark out moment is usually where we highlight something that happens in our little community, either a good review or someone making an awesome purchase or anything like that. But during Gameboree, we decided that if you donated, you visited GameMarksPod.com/donate, you donated to our GoFundMe, which benefits St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, we will put your name in the wheel. And when we spin the wheel, you will have the opportunity to win a little prize key from your boys over at the Game Marks Podcast. John, what are we giving away this week?
All right, we have some Game Marks Podcast guitar picks.
Ooh, all right. Well, John, Master of Ceremonies, will you spin that wheel?
All right, the names are set. I'm about to click the wheel. Sorry, Steve Hoker, you've been eliminated since you won last week. We got some new entries this week. And we're spinning. And we're spinning. And we're spinning. And your winner is... old friend of the pod, from the Card Foundation, Danny Tancredi.
Oh, baby. The newest member of the little pod. It's not new because it's been a couple months, but the newest members of the Major Pod Network, the Card Foundation. Congratulations, Danny.
All right, and I'll hand deliver those to him because he lives blocks away now.
Oh, yeah, all right. That's super easy. We'll have to do a little business meeting, a little Major Pod Network business meeting.
Super easy to do now. But all right, I'm inching forward. I'm getting very excited for every time we have a Fire Pro Wrestling game now. Are you ready for Fire Pro Wrestling D for the Dreamcast?
I don't even recognize you anymore. Yeah, let's do it.
What's up, Marks? We are proud to announce our newest partnership with NordVPN.
Protect your privacy from prying eyes with military-grade encryption and NordVPN. Are you sick of getting targeted ads after looking up a product or talking about it once? Whether you want to maximize your streaming services, get better protection while working from home, or just want an added layer of security while browsing the internet, NordVPN is an easy and affordable way to protect access to your personal data.
Visit GameMarksPod.com/VPN to get more information and try NordVPN risk-free with their 30-day money-back guarantee.
Protect your information, reduce your digital footprint, and feel safer on the internet, all with NordVPN. All right, Fire Pro Wrestling D, released for the Dreamcast March 1st in 2001. Now, this is a Japan exclusive, developed and published by Spike and Spike Chunsoft. Other games that are out in 2001, you've got WWF with Authority, WWF Betrayal, WWF Road to WrestleMania, SmackDown, Just Bring It, Fire Pro Wrestling for the Game Boy Advance, All-Star Pro Wrestling 2 for the PS2, Legends of Wrestling for the PS2, GameCube, and Xbox.
All of them in the archives.
Let's talk about this here. So you've got With Authority, PC game, card game. You've got Betrayal. And I don't want to talk about that anymore. We just played it. Both of us are done. Road to WrestleMania, 3 Game Boy games here. Betrayal, Road to WrestleMania, and Fire Pro Wrestling. Then you've got what tops some people's lists as one of the best wrestling games of all time, SmackDown Just Bring It for the PlayStation 2. And listen, All-Star Pro Wrestling 2 is up there too. Heavy hitter.
Love that one.
Yeah. And then, like we mentioned, Legends of Wrestling. Some people love it. Some people hated it. But this is a nice spread of games you got here.
Yeah, and this one here, Fire Pro Wrestling D. At this point, we know when it's a Fire Pro game, we know what it's going to offer. We know what it's going to look like. I think this one definitely had some, I would say, almost experimental features that you don't see very often in Fire Pro games when it comes to maybe the crowd or the entrances. But it does have the same match types and all that you're used to, but this is just the Dreamcast iteration. And this is said to be one of the deepest create a wrestler or edit modes found in any wrestling game. And there's also one other feature, but we're not going to touch on that yet till the Did You Know.
Okay. Now, in terms of your game modes, the initial menu itself, obviously the entire game is in Japanese, but if you're a little internet savvy and you can find a modded ROM somewhere in the internet, there is an English translation. So when you load up on that first menu, your options will be a one-night match, one-night tournament, open league, an elimination match, battle royal, victory road, the edit mode, network mode, title match options, and obviously your save data for the memory card. But once you're in that options, that one-night match, your match options are a normal match, a blasting death match, a barbed wire match, a gruesome fight, which is in the octagon, SWA official rules, and the other option is just to return to the main menu. I mean, these are the heavy hitters. This is what you would expect from a Fire Pro game.
Exactly. Not a lot is going to change here, but
and as is expected, it's a Fire Pro game. It's a giant roster. John, are we doing this?
All right, so this is what's going to happen. We're going to do it. We're going to speed it up like we normally do and sound like the Chipmunks mostly because when I listen back, I find it hilarious and I giggle the whole time.
Yeah, it's also nice just in general not having to listen to, especially when we do these games, to not have to listen to something that's
it's always
long.
The same, yeah. I do have the translations in here and like the wrestlers they're supposed to be. So rather than us rattle off some made up names, we do have who the likenesses are instead, and I think that's the better way to go here. So it's not so, who the hell is that guy?
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
You want to kick us off?
I'll kick us off. You can take the next one. So,
All right.
Your View Japan roster.
Antonio Inoki, Riki Choshu, Tatsumi Fujinami, Masahiro Chono, Kaiji Muto, Sensuke Sasuke, Manabu Nakanishi, Yuji Nagata, Hiroshi Tenzen, Satoshi Kojima, Shiro Koshinaka, Kazuha Yamazaki, Animal Hamaguchi, Takayuki Izuka, Osamu Kido, Kengu Komuro, Junji Harada, Yutaka Yoshi, Tatsutoshi Goto, Osamu Nishimura, Tadao Yosuda, Hiro Saito, Mishiyoshi Ohara, Akira, Scott Norton, Don Fry, Super J, Kotetsu Yamamoto, Tiger Mask, Dynamite King, Jushin Thunder Liger, Kuniaki Kobayashi, El Samurai, Koji Kanemoto, Shinjiro Otani, Tatsuhiro Takawa, Kendo Kashin, Shinya Maccabi, and Black Tiger. You're it. Oh, you're all. Yeah, I'll take the next two. You're All Japan Pro Wrestling roster. You have Giant Baba, Jumbo Saruto, Genichiro Tenryu, Toshiaki Kawada, Hiroshi Hase, Masahito Kakihara, Dory Funk Jr., Stan Hansen, Bruiser Brody, Steve Williams, Terry Gordy, Gary Albright, Johnny Ace, Mike Barton, Taioki, Jim Steele, Johnny Smith, Masanobu Fuji, and then your Pro Wrestling Noah roster is Mitsuharu Misawa, Kenta Kobashi, Jun Akiyama, Kira Tao, Takao Omori, Yoshihiro Takayama, Teimon Honda, Jun Izimuda, Masao Noyu, Daisuke Ikeda, Kentaro Shiga, Takeshi Rikio, Vader, Yoshinari Ogawa, Tsuyoshi Kikuchi, and Yoshinobu Kanamura. Alright, FMW, Hiro Mishi Fuyuki, Hayabusa, Mr. Ganosuke, Masato Tanaka, Jado, Tatsuhiro Karuda, Kintaro Kanamura, Hisa Katsu Oya, Gomon, Mammoth Sasaki, Gito, Riki Fuji. Your Michinoku Pro is Jinsei Shinzaki, Grand Hamada, Great Sasuke, and the 4th Generation Tiger Mask, and Curryman. Your Toriyumi Ultimo Dragon, Jin Ultimo Dragon, Sima, Magnum Tokyo, Suwa, Sumo Dandy Fuji, and Dragon Kid. Big Japan Pro Wrestling is Shadow WX, Ryuji Yamakawa, Tomokai Hanoma, Abdullah the Butcher, and Men's Tale. Okay. Osaka Pro. I'll do freelance. Okay. Your Osaka Pro, your Super Delphin, and Takahiro Morihama. Now your freelance are Great Kabuki, Shinya Hashimoto, Nabuhiko Takada, Yoshiaki Fujiwara, Atsushi Onita, Yoji Anjo, Tarzan Goto, Mr. Pogo, Mitsuyu Nagai, Naoki Sangho, Mitsuharu Matsunoga, Hulk Hogan, Road Warrior Hawk, Road Warrior Animal, Tiger Jeet Singh, Sabu, Rob Van Dam, Dick to Go, Manoru Tanaka, that's a call. You're gonna do it. Yep. Matsaki Mochizuki, Masawo Arihara, Gran Naniwa, and Minoru Fujita. Now, for the WWF, you have Andre the Giant, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Undertaker, The Rock, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Mankind, Kane, The Big Show, Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho, Kurt Angle, Rikishi, Billy Gunn, Eddie Guerrero, X-Pac, Dean Malenko, Davey Boy Smith, Road Dogg, Taz, China, Vince McMahon, Taka Michinoku, and Funaki, number one announcer. For WCW, you have Ric Flair, Bill Goldberg, Terry Funk, Sting, Rick Steiner, Scott Steiner, Bret Hart, Randy Savage, Kevin Nash, DDP, Scott Hall, The Great Muta, Sid Vicious, Jeff Jarrett, Booker T, Bam Bam Bigelow, Mike Awesome, and Kaz Hayashi. Oh god, I'm laughing at Triple A just because I'm getting flashbacks of when you had to read this last time. For Triple A, you have Mil Mascaras, Dos Caras, El Hijo de Santo, Negro Casas, yeah, that's the name, and Dr. Wagner Jr. For the rings, you have Akira Maeda, Kiyoshi Tamura. Why do you have all the easy names? Yoshihisa Yamamoto, Tsuyoshi Kosuka, Hitsadze Tariel, Volkan, and Hans Niemann. Lots of Hans. For Pancrase, you have Masakatsu Funaki, Yuki Kondo, Yoshinobu Takahashi, and Semi Schilt. Battle Arts, you have Alexander Otsuka, Yuki Ishikawa, Mohammed Yon, and Akito Hidaka. Now for your shoot fighters and MMA fighters, which also include Pride and K1, you have Kazushi Sakuraba, Naoya Ogawa, Kazuyuki Fujita, Masake Satake, Ensen Inoue, Rumina Saito, Kazunari Marukami, Roland Bach, Alexander Carlin, Royce Gracie, Igor Vav Chanchin, Marker, Ken Shamrock, Computer Arts, Ernesto Hoost, Mike Bernardo, and Andy Hug. That's why it was Ernesto Hoost. For your Joshi Women's Pro Wrestling, you have Omikano, Lioness Asuka, Shigatsu Nagoya, Shinobu Kandori, Akira Hokadu, Asia Kong, Kayoki Ino, Manabi Toyota, Dynamite Kansei, Yamuki Hata, and Takako Ino. And for your legends, you have Carl Gotch, Luthez, and Riggy Dozan.
That was so great. I'm so happy you got those last three good ones at the end. What a roster. I feel like if you know Fire Pro up until Fire Pro World, the rosters are so similar.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a ton of overlap in who's in the game. I mean, it's just, they have their evergreen roster, and then they just keep adding and swapping people out. But that there's going to be like the big hitters from All Japan and New Japan and Noah, and then obviously you know that you're going to get some international guys from over here in the States, and you're going to get the heavy hitters, obviously like Stone Cold and Hulk Hogan and Andre. And
let's talk about that quick. You know what I'm about to bring up. Stone Cold Steve Austin, the fake Stone Cold Steve Austin in this game, who's not really him, who's not licensed. It's not just
Stone Cold, though. It's not just Stone Cold, though, because the Sting music wasn't bad either.
No, but Stone Cold's music is identical. They changed nothing about it. There's a glass shatter. It's the same old It's I don't know how they got away with it.
It's like the MIDI karaoke version of it, where it's like,
how?
Yeah. I mean, it's the same. It's the same way that like a karaoke song is made. It's the same. Maybe there's like a slight key change, but
That's
not enough
crazy.
where it throws off the rest of it, or like the whole rest of the song. But yeah, it's the same but different, but definitely still the same.
Definitely still the same. I always liked how they included like the MMA and the boxing and the kickboxing guys in here. Just gives
the
it's
cage
just like
fighting
two
is my
games in
favorite
one.
part of this game.
I know it is, and I hate it, but I could honestly say today, playing through the SWA rules was the first time I really gave that a shot, because I always am like, I don't know what this means. Why would I play it?
Well, because you always pick wrestlers, and then I always end up picking Boss Rutan, who's shockingly, surprisingly not in this game, and I'm very sad about it.
But normally I would pick... Oh, there's a dog face staring at me like The Shining right now through my door. No, but I'm saying normally we would go either cage fighting, which we know the rules to. There's rounds and it's knockout or submission, or we would go in like an exploding death match. But going SWA rules,
this might be the first time we've never done a death match.
Yeah, and we did instead of SWA rules, which I haven't normally done, and I actually liked it. It was kind of cool.
Yeah, so that's like the K1.
Yeah.
More like I guess that's more like Pancrase, where it's more like stay down for the 10 count. It's not so much like TKOs and submission like that. It's more like Muay Thai kickboxing based.
Yeah, and in a way, it's kind of adding like 2 or 3 games in one, like Fire Pro Wrestling, but you're also getting that stuff. You're also getting cage fighting.
Maybe during Game Marks Mania this year, we'll bust out the Fire Pro World and we'll hop into some matches like old times.
Yeah. So also another thing you pointed out while we were playing that we haven't really seen before in a Fire Pro game, other than I guess the 3D version that we played, which was Wolf. The crowd is shot a little differently in this game, where you're getting different angles. You're getting maybe
nice.
Yeah, it is nice for like a really old 2001 3D rendered crowd. You're getting a little bit of more dimension, where, you know, sometimes you might see like the seats in the crowd. You're only going to see people standing and very spaced out, and you can see the space in between them, which is awkward. But it's just something different that you're not. So it's coming to the Dreamcast. You're like, okay, it is different. There is a reason to get this. It is visually different than the Fire Pro I have for my Super Nintendo or whatever per se.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different treatment of a crowd just in general, like across all wrestling games. But, you know, I really can't put my finger on it. It was something. They're 3D renders, but it's almost like how if you ever played like Donkey Kong Country, how like Donkey Kong Country is a 3D render. It's a 3D render meshed down and saved down to like a flat kind of sprite.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. Like it wasn't like a true 3D render of a character or of a person in the audience that, like you would see in a wrestling game today, but it was noticeably different than how they've been in the past.
Agreed. And you also don't control your wrestler on the entrance, which to me, these entrances were way too long anyway. And if you know me, I'm not an entrance guy. So these were just kind of the icing on the cake.
These were slow for me too. So it's just, yeah.
You're not alone. Shining moment there. But
yeah.
Let's talk about the actual arenas here, because you do have the Spike Dome, the Yorakuin Hall, the General Gym, the USA. It's all of the typical Fire Pro arenas, the SWA arena. I thought they were rendered out perfectly, whether it was the floor tiles, the wood floor, it was the east and west entrances, it was the barricades.
The lighting effects were nice too.
Yeah, very. It's like they were so close to like just pulling the trigger on just making the game 3D, right? With the crowd and the lighting. the stage.
It's everything that you would expect from a game on the Dreamcast, I think. Like, if you think, okay, I'm going to get a wrestling game on the Dreamcast, it ties in those 3D elements, but also a lot of features of... But even if you're not really familiar with the Fire Pro Wrestling series, but like it's a nice upgrade from, you know, if you hadn't played it since it was on a Mega Drive or a Famicom, like you're now coming into it on the Dreamcast. Like this was a nice upgrade for the hardware that it was on.
Yeah, and this I believe is the only Fire Pro for the Dreamcast, right?
I believe so.
So, in other words, you're getting not only a game you're familiar with, you're getting kind of, I guess, like a gateway to the games that they become also with the Dreamcast. Like, you're getting that upgraded version. And I think it's well worth it.
Yeah. This game, I'm trying to think. The only other Fire Pro that's out at this time is Fire Pro Advance.
Oof. No, actually, I think
Like
we kind of like that one.
I mean, it's a Fire Pro.
It's got this stupid cover where you think it's going to be like a 3D fighter, but yeah, it ends up being just Fire Pro.
I like that one, and I think I even said it in that episode that to take the concept and the superior engine that is Fire Pro and put that on a handheld portable console is awesome. Like it's awesome. If you're a fan of the series, you never need to buy another wrestling game for your Game Boy Advance. It's perfect. But this game, you know,
No, I don't know. Tell me.
I'm trying to think. Is there something else? Because obviously the catalog of wrestling games on the Dreamcast is very small. If this isn't the last one, we have maybe one or two more. There's not like a huge catalog for the Dreamcast.
No, not at all. And
so
as we've mentioned many times, it came and went.
One of the best for the Dreamcast?
I would say for Japan, maybe, but we didn't have this game, so there's no way to tell. There's no like definitive answer that we could give here.
Yeah, because we haven't played. Because there's the Giant Graham series of games. There's Tokon Retsuden 4.
There's Royal Rumble, which.
Yeah, well, no. So Tokon Retsuden 4 and 2 Giant Graham games we haven't played yet. Everything else we've played. It's Royal Rumble. There's Attitude, Hardcore Revolution, Anarchy Rules, the UFC game. But so there's, to my knowledge, there's 3 or 4 games that we still have to play. But I don't know, maybe this might be the first time that we close out. I think if I'm putting money on it, I think the Dreamcast is going to be the first console that we close out.
Yeah, I guess that's the easiest one we could do. I mean, actually, other than No Mercy, we've already done all the N64.
No, we got to do.
Oh no,
we got to do virtual
VPWs. Yeah,
1 and 2. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. That's like a weird concept to think that like there's gonna be a time where we like close out a console.
Yeah, or like PlayStation, we're probably close.
PlayStation 1. Yeah.
Maybe the Japanese games we didn't get to.
There's a couple of Japanese games that I know we haven't done yet, but American-based games, I'm pretty sure we're done. Or maybe there's one or two more that we didn't. But like, yeah, I think we should instate a rule. Once we close out a console, we gotta go through every wrestling game for that console and rank them.
Ooh. Okay.
Because I think that changes things. Because then we gotta go back through the catalog and remember. Yeah, I just think that would be cool. Because then, you know, some of them are going to be long. But some of them, like the Dreamcast, maybe not so long. But yeah, that's a story and a plan for another day. Let's talk about this cover here because
does it trip you out? Because it trips me out.
This may be my least favorite wrestling cover ever. Like, I borderline hate this.
Yeah. Okay. I hate that the background wrestlers are blurry. You could barely tell who they are. I can see like Tiger Mask and Antonio Inoki, I think, but everyone else is just very motion blurred.
Yeah, it's not even like we got a bad picture of it. Like the Spike logo, the Dreamcast logo, crisp. Even the Fire Pro Wrestling logo, crisp. Just something is happening in this background, and I hate it.
I think we're in the era where they experimented a lot with their covers, because let's take a look at the Game Boy one. It's atrocious.
Yeah, I don't even want to spend a lot of time on this front cover. It hurts my brain. It hurts my brain. The back cover, though, paints a nice picture here. You say this a lot. We love when you look at a cover and you know what you're getting, and unfortunately, you know what you're getting. It's just not the presentation lacks a little bit here. On the back, you got 8 screenshots of various things that you can do. We see a battle royal, we see a singles match, we see the cage match, we see the entrance, we see the editing of a wrestler, the creation of a belt. It looks like the creation of a stable. John, do we want to bust out the Google Translate here?
Guess what? I already did.
Fantastic. Take us through it.
Well, the funny thing is the Dreamcast logo translates to an ampersand. Network support, 8-player battle royal, offense and defense of ground fighting, more complete editing functions, etc. For sports, Fire Pro D has undergone dramatic evolution. This is the Fire Pro for the new century. Fibro, not Fire Pro, Fibro finally supports the network. Fire Pro D is network compatible. Edited wrestlers send or download wrestlers on the Network Coliseum. A more colorful match type, the offense and defense of the technique, is also revealed. I don't know if that's correct. And the last one I think says Raphael is edit is possible.
Oh. I was wondering if Raphael edit was possible.
Yeah, so we're going to skip ahead right now because we just mentioned something. But did you know? Did you know you could also create ring mats using the Dreamcast mouse to make pixel art mats that can be displayed in the game?
Did you know Fire Pro Wrestling D is the only Fire Pro game that allows users to exchange creator wrestler data through the Dreamcast web browser?
Did you know Fire Pro Wrestling D is on eBay from around $11 to $36 with a mint copy going from $80 to $137. The game book is also available for about $50.
Now, the time is going to come. The time is going to come where I would like to think that there will be a major pod network headquarters in, Major Wrestling Figure Podcast would have their section, and we'd have a card foundation section, and we'd have, I guess, like an off the hop rope memorial, like a statue, like a bronze statue of the boys.
Troy Nelson.
And then you'd have like the Extreme Conversations room, the MC True Line Story room, and then obviously we would have our room. I gotta tell you, if this dream ever happens that I have in my head, I want to have every console in our office.
That would be great. I would want that right now in this room I'm sitting in.
Fancy. I don't want anything crazy. I don't want anything fancy. No nerd lights. Just give me 2 lazy boys. Like, okay, you know the show Friends.
Unfortunately,
you know how like Chandler and Joey, they have the apartment and they don't have like a couch. They just have like the 2 lazy boys.
Yeah,
our office is literally going to be 2 lazy boys, an entertainment center, a giant ass TV, and every console. Nothing else.
I'm okay with that. Maybe we could have like the Retromania arcade cabinet in there or something.
Yes, the II arcade happens. We'll get like a WrestleFest. I love it. My dream is to have every console, but then I know if I get every console, I'm going to want all the games for them. And my collection already is bad. and I'm losing I'm losing a lot of space. I'm nowhere near Soup's level, but I mean, I guess few are.
Yeah, we'd also need that CRT
game.
TV in there.
Ooh, yeah.
But okay, you digressed hard from where we were going with this, but network mode. This is something that the competitors did not have. PlayStation did not have this until PS2, I believe. Dreamcast
PS2 had the little adapter that went in the back.
That's right, but I had the Slim, so I had it already.
It was already built in.
Dreamcast was the first console to include a built-in modem for internet support and online play, and it allowed players to download new moves using the game's network mode in an early example of downloadable content for home console gaming. Now, we also said that you could upload and download Create a Wrestler data, which is so big in the Fire Pro world now. I don't think we were really lying or putting this over enough that this Fire Pro Wrestling kind of did usher in the new century of games, like it said on the back cover.
Listen, I've said it plenty of times when we've talked about the Dreamcast. I think if the Dreamcast was made later on, it would have been, I don't know, I just feel like the world wasn't ready for the Dreamcast and the innovativeness of the console. It was just too much and people weren't ready for it. But if it came out a little bit later, or they made like a Dreamcast 2, we may be having a different conversation about what consoles are the best, because the Dreamcast was so far ahead of its time in terms of functionality, and I mean, expansive player base is an understatement. You could go online in a Phantasy Star online, and you could be in a game with 50 people on a Dreamcast in this RPG. It was nuts.
So here's my thing. And we always just go into these long tangents on the Dreamcast, but you had the PlayStation, you had the N64, and you had the Sega Saturn all come out around the same time. Sega Saturn was almost non-existent even in that conversation. Nobody had it. There were not really good games for it. The Dreamcast came out in 99. The PS2 came out only a few years later, and it did the Dreamcast plus more. So I feel like if the Saturn didn't exist and we got the Dreamcast then, or maybe even like somewhere in between the time that the PS1 came out and the Dreamcast came out, it would have succeeded way more. But the Saturn was not needed, but I do get how it ushered in that type of game.
Yeah, I think the Saturn put a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth.
Yeah, and like our friend Leaper says, sometimes the sequel pays for a really bad first version.
Yeah, that's true. That's very, very true. But listen, it's a Fire Pro game, so I'm very curious to hear what people got to say about this one. So why don't we go and put on that nice, relaxing music, and we'll go through some ratings and reviews.
All right. So, of course, it's a Japanese game. It's very hard to find reviews here, but we have the Game FAQ user rating. Now, out of 57 ratings, it receives a 4 out of 5 stars for the game itself, which is considered great. Difficulty is a 3 out of 5, which means just right with a little bit of tough. And the length people play, it's typically around 37 hours, which is huge. To say it's tough, I was once there. I was once a guy who thought these games were super hard. I still sometimes get caught up in the fact that you can't just button mash in these games, and it's all based on timing. And sometimes in the heat of the moment, like me and you going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, you just start mashing without even thinking about it, and you get caught up, and next thing you know, you're on the ground, you're in a Boston Crab, and it's just like, I get that these games are hard. It takes so long to like train yourself to not button mash and to actually like figure out the controls.
Yeah.
But all right, we do have...
Oh, I was going to say, I feel like to the point that you were saying, Fire Pro forces you to kind of think more about how you play the game.
Yeah, agreed. It's a big, it's really a strategy game if you think about it.
Yeah, it's a big shift from, the type of games that usually are associated with wrestling or fighting. So I think that's why it's such a divisive game.
Yeah, and to figure out the weak and the strong grapples and the button combos for finishers, going up top, grabbing a weapon. It's a lot.
But once you get it, man, ooh, it's nice.
I agreed. It's nice. Now, IGN has a rating here from Anthony Chow, and he says, if one wonders why 2D shouldn't die, this is one of those reasons. It's truly a shame what a game like Fire Pro D will never come to the US. That's funny. Beyond the 2D nature of the game comes the licensing fees of WWF and WCW wrestlers found in the game, but perhaps it's better that Fire Pro Wrestling D be known and played by a select few who don't care too much about proper entrance themes and drama that comes with watching wrestling, and are more concerned about awesome gameplay features, hilarious 2D visuals, and solid gameplay fun. Little did he know, Fire Pro Wrestling World, and I guess Fire Pro Wrestling Returns would end up being two of the biggest wrestling games.
You know, if you're around same age as me and John, the message boards for the wrestling communities were a big thing, and there's people from all different backgrounds all over the world, and there are some people who back in the day were a little bit ahead of the curve in terms of modding their consoles and stuff, and I knew a couple people on message boards who had modded PlayStations and modded Famicoms or regular Nintendos, and they were playing Fire Pro, you know, way before it had ever even been considered to come to the States. So like, if you were a part of that scene, you knew what it was a long time before, and it was just, games were just not as accessible as they are now.
Yeah, and especially with the network feature, I'm sure there were many versions of this game that made it to the US. But I think now, after we heard those lovely ratings, I think for us it's time to rate the games.
The game!
George Feis, I'm getting you first. Fire Pro Wrestling D for the Dreamcast. Will you play it forever? Woo! Or future endeavor?
You're fired!
This is an easy play it forever.
Woo!
That was quick.
Easy. I really don't know where to start with it. I mean, it's a Fire Pro game. It handles, it plays like a Fire Pro game, but there's a little added extra in terms of the presentation. The crowd really kind of steps it up. The crispness of the graphics, kind of, you can see how the mindset for a game like Fire Pro World, that style, that graphic type, the updated textures for the wrestlers, all of that's happening all the way back here. You know, this game comes out in 2001, and it's 2021, and you can see the foundations for how the game is going to look today, or when Fire Pro Wrestling World comes out, all the way back 20 years ago. I mean, I don't know. It's a kind of a double-edged sword. As I say, a lot about the series or not enough. But for me, it worked. I liked it. I feel like if you like one Fire Pro game, you're going to like them all, as long as they don't try to make it 3D. But now I turn the question to you, John. Fire Pro Wrestling D. Will you play it forever or future endeavor?
Yeah, just like what you said. Once you know it's a Fire Pro game, you know what you're going to get. And if you played one, you've pretty much played them all, other than the roster. The appearance could be a little different. Yeah, easy play forever. Woo! And I think, like, if you were to say, hey, you want to play a Fire Pro game, I would say, sure, whether it's the Super Nintendo one or this one or Returns or whatever, you're going to know how to play them. They're going to be similar. So, yeah, play it forever.
It really is just like what you said. It's just depending on the generation that you're playing is depending on what roster you're getting.
Yeah. And they're all
but
very
there's
similar.
those evergreen wrestlers that you're going to get in every one. But, you know, it does change over time. But I think it's time for us to talk about our weekly tournament. It's time for Clash at the Feast.
Okay, and for this week's episode, head on over to youtube.com/GameWorks where we played Fire Pro Wrestling D. Last week we played Showdown Legends of Wrestling. Oh boy, we had Max Smashmaster play a few games, And it was a lot of fun, but I started with Surfer Sting. George picked one of his only namesakes in the game. There were two, but he chose George, the Animal Steel, and he defeated the Sting. Now we go to match number 2, where we were in MSG, where we saw Sting versus the Macho Man. Now this was a nice battle of the NWO here, because Macho Man, George chose the NWO likeness, and Sting, we had the Crow Sting. And I guess you could take it from here.
Okay, so I really don't know what else there is to say. I was the Macho Man. You were Sting. And, yeah, play my music.
Okay. Don't get too excited, because right now it is still 2-1 to me for the month of November. I'm looking to make a comeback and head on over to youtube.com/GameMarksPodcast to see if I do this week on Fire Pro Wrestling D. But all right, tell us what we are playing next week as we roll into, oh my God, December.
No,
you got to
do it.
You got to tell us what we're playing. You want me to do it?
I don't want to do it. I don't want to play the game. I don't even want to think about it.
All right. Well, next week, thanks to Mega Mark WCW Worldwide Brian Barrera, we are playing. Oh boy, I got my friend's 360. I got his Kinect. We're all hooked up and ready to go. We'll be playing Hulk Hogan's main event. I'm so sorry to everyone that has to witness this.
So here's why I'm mad, because the 360 works, the Kinect works, but I'm having a hard time getting the Kinect and the Xbox to work with our capture software.
We'll figure it out. We have a week to figure it out.
Just driving me nuts. But yeah, we're playing Hulk Hogan's main event. I'm not excited about it, mainly because it means that I have to not sit in a chair. But we'll
get the match.
Good.
We'll get the match against each other that we've always wanted.
Oh yes, I'm very excited for this.
All right, but I think that's going to do it here. Fire Pro D, wrap it up, take it home.
All right, well, that's going to do it for us this week on the Game Marks Podcast. Please check out all of our merchandise at GameMarksPod.com/shop and join us on Patreon, patreon.com/GameMarksPod. Best way besides listening to support the podcast, so be sure to follow us on all forms of social media at GameMarksPod. Leave us a review and a rating on Apple Podcasts and subscribe to wherever great podcasts can be found. I did the thing that you did, John, that you used to do, that I used to yell at you out for. I did Game Marks.
Go away.
Say goodbye.
Game over, Marks.
Game over, Marks.
Game Marks Podcast, put them on the radar. Playing rare games, Sega Saturn, no Game Shark. Johnny and George work hard and they play hard. Future endeavor games and put them in the graveyard. From the deep dive to the clash at the feast. How can I get more? That's question of the week. Follow on Twitch, there's nothing that they won't play. Game Marks Podcast every single Monday.